Hi everyone. I want to start out by saying thank you for watching. Um, it's been really cool for all the people that have been watching. Um, it's just nice to know that people actually listen to these things. Um, for this one, I wanted to start out with how we tell stories, how we tell people how we see the world. Um, I know a lot of times perception can be distorted, facts can be, I don't know, askew. But I do want to say flashes of truth can tell a story. Um, and every statement that someone says carries a piece of truth with it. All you have to do is kind of make, I don't know, the right decision about the pieces that you choose to. I don't want to say believe, because you don't have to believe them. Just the pieces that make sense to you. I don't know if you understand that. But this whole thing is about religion. Um there's a big there's a big feud about like religion and science. A lot of people that are atheists and stuff, or even some scientists that aren't atheists that are religious. Um there are some things that can be explained by one but not the other, and likewise for the other way around. But what we do sometimes is we fail to understand that many religions are written in like perspectives, kind of in like, I almost want to say poetry and metaphors. Um, and a lot of times we tend to take it literal, and that's both the scientific community and the religious community. And in reality, I think it's more written in the perspective of the person reading it. Um, I'm a Christian, um, and I've noticed that a lot of it people interpret, like whenever I go to mass or something like that. I've noticed that people interpret it in a way that I'm like, no, wait, that's wrong. That's not how it is. But really, they're not wrong. It's how they view it, how they choose to see it. And even like even if you're an atheist too, like if you decide not to see it, I mean, it's all perspective. It's written in the perspective of man, I think. It's created for who's reading it. Um and not necessarily for really like analyzing it in the more literal sense. I think that's why it can be seen in like a different form by like pretty much anyone. Um, you can choose to listen to other people, um, how they interpret it, which is completely fine. You know, if you're okay with that, then that's what you're okay with. That's your perspective. But I've noticed that you miss out on a lot if you actually read it yourself and try to understand it. Even if you don't understand it, the few parts that you do, you're gonna you're gonna figure things out that other people wouldn't wouldn't have said because other people didn't live the life you did. They didn't have the experiences you did. So they're not gonna listen to the words the same way you listen to the words. Um, it really has always been your choice. It says it on there. Um, God gave us free will. And I think that's what free will is. Like, you choose. Um, Unfortunately, sometimes we waver from what we know is right. And I think that's another thing that free will kind of taps into. Um, I have a feeling like we inherently know what's right and what's wrong. There's this famous experiment in psychology where, um, like the psychologist will drop a block and pretend to cry, like ah, and a little bit. They usually use babies for this. That's why they say we innately know what's correct and what's wrong. The baby will come pick it up and give it to you, and like, sometimes they'll even like pat you and stuff, like so you're not sad. Like, I think we already have that built inside of us. Um, I think it's mainly our environment that corrupts us. Society, just many factors. But sometimes we waver from that. I know I have many times, so many times. I know I'm doing something wrong, and I do it anyway. Sometimes I even take joy well, not too much anymore, but I would take joy from it. It's like fun. It's fun. Like the chaos is fun. It's like the world gets to live what I live. Like, ha. But in reality, that's what it is. You're just creating chaos. And just like I've said in other videos, chaos and bad and all that stuff, it's never gonna go away. It's it's gonna constantly be there. That's why it's so hard to live with it. But the thing is, redemption is also always gonna be there. The good is also always gonna be there. The world is the world. We're just living in it. Um, we're like we're like passengers in this. It might seem like a long time living life, like going through all the crap that you have to go through sometimes. It might seem like a long time, but in the grand scheme of things, we're like a speck of dust. So, I encourage you guys to use that time. You only have a little bit, so I don't know. When you're on your deathbed, feel proud of yourself. Don't regret things. I know there's already a lot of things I regret, and I kind of want to just live my life trying to make amends for it. Not necessarily for the people that I did it to, but just for me, so I don't feel like, I don't know if there's a hell, but I don't want to feel like I'm going to hell when I'm on my deathbed. This is little grandma. Um, but yeah, try to be the best person you can be. I always say that. Um, be good to your fellow man, even though they're not good to you. It's it's a lot of patience, but it can be done. And a lot of times, when you do it, next time you see them, they end up, half the time, they end up apologizing for what they did. Not always, but a lot of times they do. They realize, like, oh shit, I was being an asshole. And I just encourage the patience. That being said,